Hey, what's up guys, Will here for GSM Arena. Lately we've seen a bunch of phones that are advertised to give you the best mobile gaming experience. But we're wondering, is the performance of gaming phones actually better than a typical flagship, which also packs the latest chipset? Or is it all the same? Well, we performed a few tests and the results may surprise you. Let's take a look. For this experiment, we took two of the Snapdragon 855 gaming phones currently available, Xiaomi's Black Shark 2 and ZTE's Nubia Red Magic 3, and put them head to head against the current popular flagships, as well as a flagship from last year and a mid-range phone. We'll start off with some regular synthetic benchmarks. With these, generally all of the phones with the same chipset were posting similar scores, so between the gaming phones and flagship phones with similar hardware, there's no big difference here. Just keep in mind that benchmarks don't always represent real-life performance. Some manufacturers tune their phones specifically to show high peak performance, but in short bursts. So we needed to look at something else to see how they do during a longer session. When you use the phone for a longer period, heat builds up, and if the internal temperature increases too much, the heat could cause permanent damage to the electronics. So once it gets too high, the chipset dials down the performance to lower the heat and protect itself, thermal throttling. The better the phone is at dissipating heat, the longer it can maintain peak performance. Devices may use mechanisms like metal plates, heat pipes, vapor chambers, or fans to keep temperatures in check. To see whether gaming phones can handle the heat better than flagships, we did a CPU thermal throttling test. We tracked performance over 1 hour of stress with each phone's display at the same brightness and a constant room temperature. Starting with the Snapdragon 855 phones. The Sony Xperia 1's performance was down to 70% of its maximum after just 15 minutes. And later on, it would occasionally dip down to 50%. These drops could lead to sudden lag, or lower FPS while gaming. With a 42 degrees Celsius maximum surface temperature, it wasn't the coolest phone to hold either. In contrast, the OnePlus 7 spent the majority of its time at 90% or above, and never dipped below 80% of its max CPU performance. But the price you pay is a high max surface temperature. It got up to 47 degrees Celsius, among the hottest in our lineup. But this was only in a small area you can't avoid touching. As a dedicated gaming phone, the Xiaomi Black Shark 2 did an even better job than the OnePlus, delivering 90% or more of its maximum performance throughout the entire test. It radiated a lot of heat though. With a toasty 47 degrees surface temperature throughout the whole back of the phone, it was the single most uncomfortable one to hold while gaming. The Nubia Red Magic 3, even with its active cooling fan off, actually had quite similar results to the Black Shark, remaining at 90% or more for the entire hour. In contrast to the Black Shark, it ran pretty cool too. With this unique built-in fan turned on, the surface temperature remained at 37 degrees. A nice balance between great performance and comfort. Even if you turn off the fan, you'd get the Xperia 1's temperatures. The Huawei P30 Pro's chart looks a lot less impressive. After just 5 minutes of heat buildup, the CPU's performance throttled down to just 60%, but then it remained stable for the remainder of the test. It did run cooler than most of the competitors at a max of 37 degrees, thanks to that heavy throttling. The S10e's Exynos 9820 CPU performance was quick to go down to 75 or 80%, but it was much more stable than Sony's Xperia 1. It ran hotter than the Xperia, but not quite up to the level of the Black Shark. We measured a maximum of 46 degrees within a large area of the phone. Now let's see the Pocophone F1 with its last-gen Snapdragon 845. It quickly dipped down to 60–65%, as low as the P30 Pro, but here it was not as stable. Also, the max temperature we measured on the Pocophone was higher than the P30 Pro's. Still not bad though at 39 degrees. And finally, we have the Xiaomi Mi 9T with its Snapdragon 730. It actually did a really good job, hovering around 85% for most of the test. But remember that this is a different class of chipset. Just like the Pocophone, we measured the Mi 9T at a decently comfortable 39 degrees surface temperature. So to summarize, the gaming phones are on top for sustaining CPU performance under prolonged stress, whereas with flagships, your mileage will vary, depending on the factory tuning of the phone. And the P30 Pro and the Red Magic 3 had the coolest surface temperatures, leading to a more comfortable experience, while the hottest contender here was a Black Shark 2, which was more relaxed with its thermal threshold. Next, we wanted to compare the GPU's response to heat as well. You can't run a game without the graphics chip, right? What we did was run a GPU benchmark twice, once when the device was cold, and again after an hour of stress, to compare how heating up affects performance and graphics rendering. Here you can really see the difference between the gaming phones and the rest of the pack. The Black Shark 2 and Red Magic 3 gave the same high scores both before and after the stress tests, demonstrating their ability to handle the heat. In contrast, all of the flagships showed a decrease in frame rate. The worst contenders were the P30 Pro and the Pocophone F1, whose frame rates dropped by almost half when under stress. So there you have it. For now, the phones with the best sustained performance are dedicated gaming phones. They really deliver, either because of a better custom cooling system like the Nubia Red Magic 3, or because they allow themselves to run as hot as the Black Shark 2. In contrast, flagship phones are not created equal, ranging from great but hot with the OnePlus 7, to just average but cool with the P30 Pro. It's all down to how the manufacturer tunes things in the factory, and in general, flagship phones have other priorities as well. So if gaming performance is what you're after, a gaming phone will give you the most of it for your money. The question remains though, whether mobile game titles have reached that point where they actually require all of this power, but maybe that's a topic for another day. Thanks for watching guys, and see you next time.